Steve, Cody, welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast.
Perfect. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming up, man. For those who don't know, you are a serial entrepreneur. You've built over 15 local and national successful businesses in tech, rental, service, e-com, retail markets, which have generated hundreds of millions in sales. And you're currently the co-founder of Rückify. And for those who don't know, that's basically the Airbnb of stuff. And in more eloquent terms, Rückify is a peer-to-peer rental marketplace where you can put just about anything you have laying around the house for rent. I'm really excited to chat with you here today, Steve. This is going to be an awesome episode. A lot of people have been asking for this one. It's going to be awesome. Let's start at the very beginning because, you know, I mentioned that you're a serial entrepreneur. You've been involved in so many businesses in your life, but walk me through your journey because if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't an easy beginning for you.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't hard either, I guess. You know, it's when you don't know any different, I think it's no tougher. So, I mean, literally, I didn't know any different. My story is basically grew up with a single mom. She cleaned houses for a living, so she was self-employed. I'd go to work with her some days. Had a grandfather who, thought I should go to university. He put $10 a month in the bank for me, sort of kind of grow that. So when I was ready for university, there'd be some money sitting there. And very dyslexic in school. Again, didn't know it at the time because it wasn't really a thing. But, that gave me a hard time. And, I remember being in grade 10 and kind of thinking, this isn't really for me. So I went to my grandfather and I'd met somebody who worked for a window washer, and they were telling me how busy they were. And I didn't even know window washers actually existed. But he told me how busy he was. So I ended up saying, well, what do you need to start a window cleaning company? And he told me. And so I went to my grandfather and there was $1,200 in the bank at the time. And I said, can I take that money out? I want to start a window cleaning company. I'm going to leave school and, that'll give me enough basically to buy the bucket, the squeegee, the ladder.
What was that conversation like with your grandpa when you had to break it to him? Like, hey, man, this whole school thing.
Yeah. Well,
actually, up, but
yeah. So that's a good question because it was actually really tough with my grandfather until my grandmother stepped in. And my grandmother, she was the boss. She said, when she supported kind of entrepreneurship and anyway, so he was hesitant, but he couldn't be hesitant when she said, you got to make it happen. So, yeah. So then I started the window cleaning company. The one thing, everybody talks about doing all this research and, all this, but I can tell you, I started the window cleaning company and I was scared of heights. That was kind of the first thing I found out. So that was a problem.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So anyways, that's how I got started. And, we just went door to door. And the beautiful thing about window cleaning is if you do a really good job, people will have you back, 2, 3, 4 times that same year. So right. You can really start to build up a nice business, and it is a word of mouth business. So
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, the word of mouth must be such a big aspect of that because then a couple neighbors see you working, and then they're like, "Hey, who's that kid? Oh, he's got a team. He's got a blah blah blah. Yeah. Like, do it for me too. Like, how much do you charge?" Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, it worked out really really well. So that's where it started for me.
That's awesome. And just on that note, real quick, I just had a good buddy of mine on my podcast previously, and he started a company where he's doing driveway sealing, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, and all that stuff. And, in today's world, a lot of people don't look at that as like a sexy business or like, this is not, you don't have the, you're not a sexy marketing company or this or that, whatever it may be. But we were talking about it and it's like, why is that? What's wrong with a lot of revenue, a lot of sales, bringing in good, solid, recurring business? Like that's a beautiful thing. And once you're able to get it to the point where you don't have to be doing that anymore, how is that any different than any business out there?
Yeah. And what, like something ironic and all of that is you talk about the sexiness, but right now we own Better Software. So Better Software is basically an ERP for the service industry, for the franchise industry. And our software actually supports, I would say, 3 of the 4 biggest window cleaners in North America. So we've got thousands of window washers today on our software every day, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. It makes a lot of sense too. It's like, why isn't there some kind of platform for people to take it a little bit beyond just doing a couple streets? And I can kind of relate in the way, and we'll definitely talk about this. But when I was when I was younger, I needed to make some money, some quick cash as well. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to mow some lawns. I'm going to shovel some driveways. And then one neighbor leads to the next. Now, next thing you know, I got a whole street. I got a decent little business here, and it's all cash, and life is good. I'm buying my own iPod and all these things. And so it's very interesting seeing that that's possible, but it's going out there and actually putting some of that effort in. And that kind of leads me to one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, do you think entrepreneurs are born or are they made?
It's another great question. I think it depends what level of entrepreneurship you're talking about, right? So entrepreneurship comes in many, many different forms. Like if I want to own a franchise, well, then I'm kind of not managing a business, but I'm kind of managing a business. So, if I'm Elon Musk, I'm a totally different kind of entrepreneur. Like, I don't think an Elon Musk is made, it's just in him. And there's things that are intuitive that it would take a lot of us just too long to learn. So I think part of it is in us. I've always felt, the lack of formal education for myself has always been a motivator. So when you don't have a fallback position, so I'll often hear somebody, I've spoken at a lot of universities and colleges, and, you have a lot of students, and, they're talking about when they get out of school, they want to start a business, but, they've got a nice fallback, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but I think for myself, it's always really been more of a case of you kind of have no choice. You have to make it work.
Kind of more of a sink or swim mentality. It's
Literally.
Like, I don't have, if I don't go out and hustle and make this money, I got no food to eat.
Yeah. There's not one business that I've ever started where I'm thinking, what's my plan B or my plan C? Like there's one plan, there's success, and it's likely not going to be the way you originally thought it was going to be, but there's always a way to figure it out. And I think, if you look at successful entrepreneurs, I think it's more about staying power, because it's really hard to be an entrepreneur. And, can you live through the ups and downs? Do you have a partner, a spouse, that's going to support you through the ups and downs? Do you have a family that's going to support you? So all of these different factors kind of play into, just can you stick with it, or are you going to give up? And I think that's probably literally the biggest differentiator in entrepreneurship.
So, that's a really good point. I like that a lot because, it's not just all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not just, this Instagram version of reality, right? It's, there's, and, mind you, I'm still very new to this entrepreneurship world, but I'm learning that there are a lot of ups and downs there. It's kind of a lonely road in a lot of aspects. And there's a lot of conversations with yourself. Will this work? Is this the right decision? Or some mornings you're like, man, I'm not even sure if I really want to do this. But then, deeper down inside, like, no, I really want to do this. And you get it done anyway. So talk to me about what wakes you up in the morning? What keeps you going, and how did you learn that ability to, I cannot fail. I have to keep going. But like, even on those days, you're human, when you're just like, I want nothing to do with anything today. How do you keep it going? What gets you up?
Yeah. I mean, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to really be comfortable with tackling problems and seeing problems more as opportunities and not letting them weigh you down. So, I hear a lot of people in entrepreneurship, they talk about, I went to bed and I was so stressed out, I couldn't sleep, which is an awful thing. My problem is I get too excited going to bed. I'm too excited to get up in the morning, and I'll wake up like there's no way I'm starting to read an entrepreneur book before I go to bed, because I'll never sleep. So
right.
I don't know why, but I have this opposite problem of being too excited to get up. I've literally had nights where I haven't gone to bed. I'm just too excited. So,
Yeah.
I guess that's probably a good thing. I don't, I don't really get overly stressed because whatever's stressing you out is probably a problem. And problems are fun to solve.
Right.
And I think you look at it from that perspective, and every problem can be solved. It just kind of gives it a whole new spin. And so I wake up and I'm waiting for problems.
I like that. And that sounds like something to me. And that's like coming. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's a complete mindset shift, but it's like so many people shy away from problems instead of, I played football, so I kind of relate this in terms of sports of people shying away from contact, like a receiver catching a ball and getting timid, and they're the ones who are going to get hurt, as opposed to the guy who catches it, lowers his shoulder, and F's you up, because it's like, yeah, I know you're going to hit me. I'm going to just hit you a bit harder. I love that.
Stay on offense, right? And even mentally, you got to be on offense. If you go on defense is, kind of backing off of something or being scared of something. Stay on offense. And I think you probably always win on offense.
And what are some practical strategies for somebody just kind of getting into entrepreneurship to do that, to stay on the offense when there's just so much noise out there? There's so much advice and gurus and all this information overload from people telling you what to do. What are some advice from you in kind of overcoming all that noise and just staying focused on what you have to do to overcome those obstacles?
Yeah. So I think a big thing you need to do, if you're thinking about, going full-time entrepreneurship. So
Absolutely.
I think the first thing you want to do, and everybody needs to do, is say, what do I want out of it? Right? Because then you're setting your own expectation, and what you want out of it is basically going to be the equation of how much you have to put into it. So if you're looking to build an empire and, you want a multi-billion-dollar company, I would say you probably have to sell your soul to it, right? But maybe you're getting into it because you're looking for a little bit of freedom in terms of time, or, financial freedom, or whatever that is. And then how much financial freedom? So I think it's really, really important to know what you want out of it, because that'll probably tell you what you have to put into it. You're going to have to work hard no matter what, but there's a big difference between maybe working, 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, and 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, right? So so I think figure that out first. And then who do you listen to? I don't know. I read a lot. I listen a lot, but I don't necessarily, I take it all with a grain of salt. I really rely on myself more than I rely on anybody else. I've been at this for, 30 some years. And I can tell you, I've had two mentors that I've listened to, and I think it was a really good idea. I've had a lot of people who have had opinions, and I kind of think the quicker somebody has an opinion, the less I'm going to trust it. Yeah. So, if the person's asking me a lot of questions and they're learning what my problems are or what I'm trying to do, and then they're giving me feedback, that's quality feedback. But if I'm having a 5-minute conversation and somebody's telling me how to run my business, or telling me to do this or telling me to do that, it's like, I've kind of learned that, I don't know, it's probably, how could they know? And nobody knows better than the entrepreneur themselves. I'll have people ask me things. I'll try to give advice, but I always back it up with, hey, you know what? You're the entrepreneur. You're going to bed looking at the ceiling thinking about this stuff. Yeah. You know it better than anybody else. So.
No, and that's so true. And you know what they say about opinions, everyone has them, and everyone's going to have some kind of advice. And something that I've found with even this podcast, which I've been running for just over a year now, when I went to start it, everybody had their own advice and well-meaning, mind you, it's not, coming from a bad place a lot of the time, but it's just, oh, you should do this, you should do that, this is what you should talk to, this should be a format. It's like, great, no, thank you, I appreciate the feedback, but thank you very much, I'm just going to do it my own way. I think it's never going to stop that people are going to give you advice and people are going to, tell you what they think you should do, but almost having that filter. And I like that, how quick someone gives you advice is just like a default answer that they might give 50 other people. And do you want to be like 50 other people who actually listen, internalize, and applied that advice? I think you'd be running around in circles for a very long time if you took everybody's advice. But,
Yeah,
yeah.
There's probably 3 stages to starting a business. I think, to me, phase 1 is a totally intuitive phase, and you should actually kind of block out what other people are saying. And get it up and going. It's going to take you a year or 2. You're going to learn a lot. And then phase 2 is going to be, now you're going to have people on your team that are going to understand your business. They're going to understand your vision. You're going to have customers that understand your business, that understand your vision. So that's when I think you go out and we call it a design thinking process. So it's actually, it's a very disciplined process that we use. We break down all parts of the business. Then we go through this design thinking process with these storyboards and everything. And now we're getting feedback on all that intuitive, all these assumptions we made, because they're not all right. I can guarantee you that. But now you've got more people that can help you through that process. So that's really how we've done it in the past, and it works quite well.
And design thinking, that's very interesting. And I've heard a lot of people and even a few guests on my show talk about this field and how it helps to have these mental models and improve your decision-making skills. It's definitely something I'd like to dive into more. But I think what's more important is also what you said there is the phases.
I would never start a business through the design thinking process.
Exactly. You don't have a business yet, you know? Yeah.
You're going to have what everybody else wants you to have. And, that's probably the same as what's already out there. So when you start a business, you want a differentiator. And I think that's important. So, yeah. So anyways, that's how we've done it.
Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot because coming back to the whole noise and stuff, I think that now entrepreneurship is so in vogue. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone wants to quit their job. Everyone wants to go live this life. And, even knowing some of the challenges involved with it, but it's this shiny object syndrome that, I've fallen victim to as well, where, you start one thing, you think, okay, yeah, I got this figured out. I got some clients. I got some revenue coming in. This is great. I'm going to scale this and blah, 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 blah. And then you see the shiny object over there and you're like, well, you know what? I should start a course. I should do this. I should blah, 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 blah. And then you compound that over even a few months and you're doing all these different things. And you're like, wow, I'm doing nothing well. I'm just doing a bunch of things, spinning a bunch of plates, feeling busy, feeling, like I'm getting a lot done. But I think, having that focus and really kind of figuring out, the fundamentals of what, your offer is, who you're targeting, the differentiation, that kind of stuff at the beginning. I think, from a lot of people who have built successful businesses, that's what's being echoed a lot, and it makes a lot of sense.
And I think that happens in phases. I think it's kind of dangerous to have all your eggs in one basket. So you want to create multiple opportunities, multiple revenue streams. I think when you start the business, you should focus on, a couple of things. Number one is right when you start it, actually, to me, it's throw a whole bunch of things on the wall and see what sticks. Once you have that, focus on it and do it really, really well. Start bringing on a team, but then often, if you're a true entrepreneur, you're going to be causing more trouble for that team than you are going to be doing good, because you're just going to be distracting everybody all the time. So you might be better off, once your team is there, let them really mold it and get all the operational procedures in place and follow and do all those things. And then, how do you diversify or how do you expand on that idea? And I think that's the entrepreneur's job.
And is that something you've kind of struggled with in the past personally, for some of the businesses you've run, big idea, execution, getting it all started, but then having trouble stepping away from the operations, the building of the systems of it all? Or is that something you've been good at?
I have no choice because I don't consider myself good at running a business. If I stayed and I ran the business, I mean, we had a lift business. We went from zero to about $6 million in 30 months, where profit was about $1 million a year, and it was running really, really well. We sold it because I was bored. You know, it was running really, really, and I mean, at that time I was 30 years old. We had millions in debt. We couldn't borrow anymore. The business was going well, but you know, that was kind of the end of the road for me, only because literally I was bored. It wasn't kind of why I was there. So
you're not the first successful entrepreneur who's told me that exact story of like built this big thing. It got to the end of the road and it was successful. There was nothing wrong with it. And it's just, I'm bored. I wanted to do something else. And I love that.
my wife wasn't too happy.
That's awesome, man. Kind of switching gears a bit, but still on the same, whole entrepreneurship topic. What are some of the biggest challenges you have faced in building these businesses? And I know we can't sit here and talk about each individual one and all the trials and tribulations, but just generally speaking, what are some of the big things you've had to overcome?
Different stages, I think, bring different problems. Probably our biggest challenge is back in 2013, we had Monster Halloween. We had 26 stores across Canada, some in the US. We had Cody Party that we were franchising across Canada. We had just started Cody Mobile, which was really mobile home services. So things were going quite well, and our son passed away June 2013. And, I spent, about 9 months in bed. So I couldn't get out of bed. The only thing I could get out of bed for was to have a hot bath or have a warm shower. So during that time, we ended up having to have a fire sale on those 3 companies. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's when you really appreciate the value of your energy, right? So, because if your energy is sapped, a lot of things start to fall pretty quickly. So I think, that was probably one of our biggest struggles. And coming out of that, we had a couple $1 million in debt. Everybody's saying go bankrupt, then just start over. And I didn't want to do that. And all we had left was this software that we had built to run our companies. And I didn't know anything about software. And I just hired some guys to build software because we couldn't find anything good in the market. So I think just maybe being an entrepreneur is we said, you know what, let's take the software and turn it into a business. And we turned that into better software. And then, we raised $9.8 million in the first 2 years.
Wow.
Took some outside money, learned a lot there, learned a lot about taking VC money, making sure the expectations are right, making sure that you're aligned on values. You're just not concerned about the valuation of the company. You're concerned about, how you treat your team, making a great product for your customers so that they're going to be happy. So those types of things. So there's, there's a lot of challenges, but even just like that challenge, losing our son, there's been a lot of good things come out of that as well. So, I can't say that I've ever had, I say that to the team all the time. We're faced with big challenges all the time. And I think everybody's seeing it, that every time we're faced with a big challenge, we come out better, we come out stronger. So are they challenges really, or are they just opportunities? I think they're opportunities to be better.
Absolutely. And, for sure, sorry about your son for sure. But, the big takeaway there from that to me is the ability to pick up the pieces and do something with it that is positive, and not just, when your back's against the wall and all this, everything's just not looking good, debt and all this, the three companies, doing something with it and then kind of pivoting to this whole software thing. So, talk to me about what with better software, what that was like, what that journey was like, and up until now.
Yeah, yeah, even, well, I'll tell you about, just to amplify maybe how hard things are is, so I think it was August 2017, no, 2015. I told my family that we were going to be in the software business. My kids thought it was hilarious because I could hardly operate my cell phone. So then we see this, my wife saw this notification on Twitter where they had this, what they called an accelerator program called LSpark out in Canada. It was the first time they do it. And I'm like, I said to my wife, what is an accelerator program? I didn't even know. So she said, well, you go into this thing for 9 months, sponsored really by Terry Matthews. So I knew that name. We used to clean his windows, at both Newbridge and at his house, and a huge fan. So he was kind of the head of this thing. And, you could apply to this program. You'd go into it, you'd be there for 9 months, and they would teach you how to build a technology company. I'm there like, that is perfect. So anyway, I applied for this program, and I think 320 companies had applied. This was the first time they were doing it. And so the way it worked is you apply, they would select, I think it was 20 companies. You would go in and you would pitch your idea, and out of that, they were going to select a maximum of 10 companies. Didn't cost you. So this was perfect. So I applied day before the pitches. 2 days before the pitches, I get an email from a guy named Marco. Marco says, Steve, thanks for the application, but you didn't make it in. So, good luck next time. So I emailed him back. I said, Marco, I think you made a mistake. I got to come in and see it. So, and Marco said, okay, come and see me tomorrow. I'm in Canada. So next day I drive out to Canada. I park the car, get out of the car, check my cell phone. And this is like a day before the pitches. So I'm figuring, I got to talk Marco into this. And then Marco sent me an email, said, Steve, I'm sorry, I have to cancel our meeting. I have something important. So I said, well, for me, I need to have this meeting because I need to get into this program. And so I looked on LinkedIn, I looked for Marco's picture, and then I walked into the building and I started walking around the building looking for Marco. And I saw Marco. I said, hey, Marco. And anyway, so, and he wasn't busy. And we talked. And so we sat down and talked. And then he said, oh, I think somebody canceled. Let me see if I can get in. And so then he came back and he said, yeah, okay, you can pitch tomorrow. And I said, okay, well, I have another problem. He said, what's that? I said, I've never presented to anybody in my life. I don't know how to make a PowerPoint or anything like that. So he said, no problem. We'll get you a mentor. And so they did that, and went in the room the next day, and they left me till the last to pitch because I had to practice. I'd never done it before. And first thing I told all the investors in the room, I said, just so you know, I'm not a tech guy, but I know what I can do and I can sell. And went through my presentation and got a phone call that night. Only 2 companies were picked, and we were one of the 2.
Wow.
And that's how I got started in the technology business. So didn't know a thing, never raised money from outside people other than banks and, myself. And we raised $9.8 million. And it was kind of, the whole Better Software thing was a crazy journey because I didn't get along with the VCs. They didn't care about our people. They didn't really care about a good product.
They just cared about a good return.
Eh?
They just cared about a good return.
So I left the company. It was June 2017. Anyways, I ended up buying the company back about 4 months after I left.
Oh, wow.
For an entrepreneur, that's a really good thing.
That's incredible, man.
Today, it's a great company. So, yeah.
That's awesome to hear, man. What a story. And again, echoing what I said before, it's like, not taking no for an answer, and just you could have easily just been like, oh well, this is not for me. Tech. Well, what am I pushing for? What am I gonna? It's very easy, and it comes back to the mindset thing, and it's like it wasn't that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't that you're just like, oh, well, I'm just going to become the number one. I'm going to learn everything there is about tech and just become the best tech person. You're like, no, I know what I'm good at. I'm good at sales. Let me get a face-to-face with you. I'm going to get in, do this pitch and close. And that's incredible. I love that story. I think people are going to get a kick out of that. That's a good, coming back, fucking buying the company. I love it.
Yeah. So,
that's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
That was really good.
And then talk to me then, it was around like 2017 then, right? That Rückify came about, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
the day I left Better, I went for dinner with my wife that night, and it's okay. Like, well, what do we do next? So we said, let's start Rückify, and that's how I started Rückify. And Rückify, the idea was born about a year before that. So we had a storm out front of our house, and a big tree had fallen down, and like as soon as the storm was gone, I can hear the chainsaw out front of the house, and I went out to see what was going on, and my neighbor Bruce Linton, he was out there. He loves a chainsaw. So he's out there cutting up the tree. And he's like, Steve, I can't get the stump. The blade's not big enough on the chainsaw. And, we started looking around. We're saying, well, probably a neighbor's got a bigger chainsaw, but, how the hell would we know that? So we started saying, we should make an app for that. So people could, whatever they own. And that's kind of where the idea started. And I had built and sold 6 different rental companies. So, for me, that really kind of the bug was there, but I wanted to focus on Better and Better what was important because we did have shareholder money, and I was excited about it. But yeah, so the day I ended up leaving Better, that night went out for dinner, and boom, we got logos made up, and we got rocking right away.
Talk to me about that process from idea to making it a reality. Now, obviously, you've done it before. You had the experience. Not like talk to me about, okay, after that dinner, what do you go home and do? Like, what is it that you actually go? Like, do you have a team? Do you have people who can just go help you with this stuff, or you're just like?
I mean, I have people I've worked with in the past, so calling somebody, I need a logo, and then working through that process. And I think, to me, that's a great, you start with your domain name and you start with your logo because that becomes kind of the inspiration, and it's fun, and, kind of energy. It makes it more real, right? And then it's, okay, well, we need to build the tech. At that time, Better was still operating, so I couldn't poach them, but I called our first CTO, so our first technology officer at Better. He had left already. And I called Peter and I said, Peter, will you help me? We met. And he checked with his wife, and he called me back that night. He says, Steve, I'll work with you, but under one condition. I'm okay, well, what's that, Peter? He says, you're not allowed to pay me. I said, what the hell do you mean I'm not allowed to pay you? He says, no, I believe in this mission. I believe in you. I'll work, but you can't pay me.
Wow.
So anyways, that's kind of, so he's an extremely important part of the company now. And we actually have to fight to give him a raise. He's an odd duck.
Wow.
But, so it was but Peter had another job, so he could only do it part-time. And then, it's putting that up, looking for a developer, and, so it's just, and then, I don't know, I spent months at one Starbucks, and I probably would have, I don't know, like 6 to 10, 12 coffees a day, just with all these people, meeting them on LinkedIn. And selfishly, I'm practicing my pitch. I'm trying to get feedback from people. I'm interviewing. So I'm learning that whole time from people. And I think that helped me a lot and helped me find some great people. And I think, again, it's all about stages. And I think when you're building your business stage one, you're looking for generalists that are very enthusiastic, lots of energy. Stage or phase two, now we're starting to look for specialists, right? And and professionalism, and so there's different phases to the how you build a business. But phase one, I'm looking for people that are curious, people that care about their community, and people that are relatively smart and know a lot of different things,
right?
That I feel can add value, and that's how we started. That's that was the start of the hiring process.
And that makes a lot of sense. A lot of startup founders I've talked to, that's very much it. And, at the beginning, you want people who are gonna be able to wear multiple hats, fit multiple roles, do all kinds of different things. And obviously, I won't say I'm in a similar startup world, but surrounding myself with pieces who are willing to go the extra distance to just get things done, and let's not overthink, like, going deep into the weeds and having the best, whatever in the world. Let's just have something, and then, iterate and just keep going from there. So yeah, I love that.
Together, you're slapping it together. We look at Rückify 2.0. So we've been at it for 3 years. It's just rolling out this week. It just starts rolling out. But you had to slap it all together. You had to use your intuitiveness. And then you bring in your design thinking team, and then they start breaking it all down and they start rebuilding it.
Right.
And then it becomes awesome, right? So
let's talk about the difference between Rückify 1.0 and 2.0. Well, what is that? Because I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot about, when we started Rückify, our product manager was from the rental industry, understood rentals. We had worked together in the past, several of the people. So you're kind of sitting around this table early on. We're 5 or 6 people. And it's really kind of interesting because you're building something that nobody's ever really built before. You can go around and you can see where people have tried, but they've not succeeded. So you kind of don't want to copy them, but you may want to call them and find out what went wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And get that feedback. So
right, but you don't have a blueprint. Like you don't have a clear, like, this is how you exactly build this and execute on this. Yeah.
How do you get network effect going? Is it just a marketplace? Do you allow people to have these stores like, for rental stores? We call them Rückify stores now, just like a Shopify store for e-commerce. Do we do criminal background checks on people? How do you add multiple things from multiple people to your cart and all have them delivered? So there's all these crazy things, and it's all built over kind of just iterations and iterations, but it is all jumbled together. So as long as you know ahead of time, we're building V1. And we built V1. And then, we knew when the time was right, when we thought we had it built enough, we thought we found product market fit. So we knew people were making money with Rückify. We knew people loved the idea. So then it was, putting together a product innovation team, a design thinking team to start, breaking it down. What's the checkout process? Spend 2 to 3 weeks. I just got off a meeting, our whole notifications process. How do you notify people? How often do you notify them? Why do you notify them? And the amount of work and the data and the thought that, like, I could never do what they do. But I walk away all the time from these meetings with chills. And it's just like, holy smokes, like, this product's amazing, right? Yeah. So now we have the time to do that. And we're a little over 70 people. So now you have people on the team that are becoming experts in the sharing economy in marketplaces, right? We have customers. We have customers that are making, we have customers made $20,000 this summer.
Wow.
So you have customers that are making a lot of money. You have customers are struggling to make money. Well, why are they struggling? So we can go back and we can learn from them, and we can come back with this, Rückify 2.0. Now it starts rolling out this week. The major features will be rolling out over the next 90 days. But I mean, it'll be ongoing now until the end of 2021. There'll be some really good.
And that's now getting it to be like an app that's even more interactive, even more user-friendly, with a lot more of those notifications, a rating system, all those kinds of things as well. Like, that's really cool. I think it's I personally, I can't say that I've used it, but just looking into it, I've even seen the trucks. I've seen all kinds of things, in Ottawa. How could I not, right? But I'm like, man, what is that Rückify stuff all about? Like, what are they talking about there? I thought, just really weirdly, when I first saw it, I thought it was some kind of like backpacking type of outdoor gear company, like, something like that. But then I look into it, it's like, oh, you can rent everything, and you could, it's great for students, for elderly, like, you got a pretty wide range of, like, users, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you could download an app and you have things that you are not using and you want to generate some income off, why not? Like, why would you not? And so I'm very excited to see then now the next stage, not even just V2, but like the expansion. So, right now, where are you guys? Like where exactly do you exist? Where does Rückify serve?
Yeah, so right now we do 23 categories, about 326 subcategories. We're in about 228 communities where we have over 800 items in those communities. Only in North America. So we have 3 tiers of cities we're in, so it depends on the focus and depends on the amount of items that are in inventory. But there's 228 of them. in North America. And with Rückify 2.0, you're going to see Rückify RVs. We bought a marketplace last year. That's going to be rolling onto the tech very soon.
Cool.
Rückify Spaces is going to be coming over. Rückify boats. So, if your backyard, maybe your garage, maybe you want to rent it out. So you're going to be able to do that through Rückify Spaces.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I'm just thinking about here in Canada alone, like let alone anywhere else, but just the amount of people who own boats who probably don't take it out as much as they'd want to, or RVs and like all kinds of things that are just kind of sitting there. You made a massive investment in this thing, and your kids want nothing to do with it or whatever, and it's like, why don't I make some money off this?
Yeah, CTV just did a story. We have two community members up in Okotos, up in Alberta, 30,000 people. The one lady was a stewardess, was let go. She made 7,000 her first 90 day. The other lady made over 10,000 first 90 days on the platform. They kind of worked together, and they didn't invest any money. This is all stuff they own. So, man, when you think of, where this is all going with COVID and everything, we have a real opportunity here to help a lot of people. And for us, that's super exciting.
Let's talk about that, because I wanted to ask you, how has COVID impacted things, if at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, you want to talk about setbacks. You look at, so we've been at it for 3 years. We spent the first 2 years building tech. Then we spent the next 7 months adding 500,000 items of supply. So that brought us to January of this year. Our first big go-to-market launch was Austin. It's supposed to be April 21st of this year. 6 of us had bought one-way tickets to Austin. We had committed about $800,000 in marketing dollars to that community for our launch. We were almost there, and then COVID happened. And we were going to be doing a NASDAQ listing later this year. So we had some big plans. And we had about 80 people in the company at the time. And I can remember it was March 12th, everything got weird. That's when the sports teams got canceled and all that. March 13th, we knew we had to get the hell out of there. So we all headed home. March 16th, which was a Monday, we had to lay off half the team, because we're looking at this saying we're in the sharing economy. Of people sharing in a pandemic is probably not going to fly. But what happened was 2 things happened. One was we started having gyms reaching out to us and saying, hey, people can't come to our gyms. Can we bring the gyms to people's homes? Can we rent out our equipment on your platform? So it was like, holy smokes, okay, now we're able to help people. Then we had United Way reach out and say, we need help. We have, for mental health issues, our kids need to continue learning. People need their digital devices in their homes. Can you guys help us? And we went out to our community. We were able to help thousands of families, and we did it all for no charge. But just doing that, doing good in the community, got us all this earned media, got everybody talking about us, and then everything went crazy. And so we went from a company that was spending $100,000 to $200,000 a month on marketing to never spending over $10K since COVID. And we've skyrocketed. Like it's unbelievable.
That's incredible, man. And it just it just, goes to show again, when things are going a certain different direction, pivoting and just looking at it like, what, this isn't the end of the road. Let's look at what we can still do. And that's incredible. Like the whole gyms and the United Way and helping in all these different ways, because like you said, and you're helping, but at the same time, you're getting that goodwill. You're generating that, hey, Rückify was there for us at a difficult time. Now we are, we're kind of, you guys are going to benefit from that for a very long time. And it's insane that the marketing spend went down so much because you kind of don't need it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a huge believer. If things aren't going well, and if you kind of find yourself getting into a jam, think about how you can help people. And it's really cool. When you start helping, it changes the karma in the situation. But you tend to meet people for different reasons, and people tend to look at you and your business in a different light. And it's always been a positive thing to do that. And it's just, like for us, it was more in, how can we help is kind of whenever we're in crisis. And we're not saying how can people help us, how can we help others? And I don't know, it's just, there seems to be a way of things working themselves out when you do that. So
1000%, something that really changed my life. I was listening to a podcast a couple of years ago, and I don't know who it was, some chess master or someone was talking about, whenever he leaves the house to go out into the open world, any interaction that he has with anybody, it's never a neutral exchange. There's always, it's either positive or negative in some kind of way, right? And to try to make it always positive and try to always give and try to always, leave that imprint without any expectation of, hey, like, what are you going to do for me? Hey, Steve, like, what are you going to do for old Deepak here? Like, no, it's like, let's do this. Let's have this conversation. This might inspire somebody to, start their own business one day, or do a lot of great for the world. And so why not try to do some good, and just for the sake of just doing good, man. It doesn't have to be this calculated thing. And I love that's a powerful way to live. And you mentioned karma. I'm Indian. My parents have taught me this stuff since I was a kid, but only now that I've moved out and started doing my own thing, I've realized, damn, they were right.
Yeah. So anyways, that's it's always worked for us. I wish I'd have figured it out a lot earlier. So
absolutely. But you did mention some very exciting things still coming down the pipeline for Rückify. What are you most excited about? What are you most excited about in the next 6 months to a year? Obviously, we don't know the future or anything, but what's the next big thing?
You know what? I mean, to me, it's really simple. I'm excited about, well, two things. Number one is just giving the people an opportunity to make money in this time of crisis without investing. It's free to go on Rückify. Everything's free. Only when you make money do we make money. You can post your stuff, your friends and family stuff. So I'm excited to see more stories like CTV showed last week. So I think that's exciting, because it's not about making money as much as it is about hope. And I think right now people need hope. And when we get into winter and January, and anyways, hope's going to become really important for us, I think. So anyway, we're going to be able to give some of that hope. And I think, the other thing that excites me is just the impact that we can continue having on the environment. Because if we can continue to get people sharing, and man, people love it. My daughter was the first one to come up with the whole environmental thing. And I'm older, and it doesn't mean it did not mean as much to me. When she suggested we should plant a tree every time somebody has a booking, I told her she was crazy, because I pictured myself out there planting like thousands of trees. But we did that, and it's one of the best things we've ever done. And man, does it ever resonate with people? So if we get people sharing, that means things aren't being made. And right now there's a lot of supply line problems as well. So when you think about sharing, it's that much more important. But the overall impact to the environment is just massive.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing about the sharing economy. And it's like where most industries are now trending is like, hey, let's reduce our consumption in a way that actually makes a little bit more sense. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with like the whole recycling side of things, and like like reduce, reuse, whatever I grew up with them telling us to do. But why not buy less things or consume, like get less things? You share the things that you need. Like, how often do I need I don't know, sir, like a chainsaw? Like I would not go out and buy a chainsaw to keep in my tiny little apartment, for the one time that a tree falls down. But that's such a great example. It's like, I might need one every now and then, like all kinds of things. I love it. I just think from every aspect, this business, it really reflects your experience, and almost reaching this point of, I correct me if I'm wrong here, but like almost self-actualization through a business, where it's like the money's there. That's great. Yeah, of course, things are going very well from a financial perspective, but more importantly, it's actually making that impact and that hope. Oh my God, that really that made the hairs on my neck stand up, man. Like, people need that right now more than ever. People are struggling to pay their bills. The government can't pay people forever, and it's like, we got to adapt as a community, as a whole. Figure out how are we going to keep our families afloat. What can we do to make an extra buck? And maybe not just selling that thing like on Kijiji, like what would or Craigslist for my listeners who don't know what Kijiji is, but just selling things, maybe it's not the best solution, but if you could share it, everybody kind of wins.
Exactly. Yep, I'm with you 1,000%.
I love it. Kind of switching gears a little bit because we don't have too much time left. From a personal development standpoint, what kind of stuff do you do to keep sharp in terms of learning, apart from just doing? Like you mentioned you read books. Do you do any kind of courses or any kind of stuff for yourself, for your learning?
No, you know what? I think a lot of it is reading, but a lot of it is, I think, especially now with, these cell phones and all this digital stuff, it's taking the time to think, I think, is probably the most important thing. And what that means, and my wife's on me about it all the time, go for a walk, go for a drive, leave your cell phone at home. And it's amazing, what you can do just going for a walk and thinking about things. And for me, I think that's probably the most important thing I do right now.
Yeah, me as well. And I think so many people should be implementing this in this COVID reality that we live in, where we're staring at screens so much during the day. And if your idea of unwinding is just staring at a screen some more, you're never really having that time to check in with yourself and just be. And so I've started doing that as well. Not as much as I'd like, but I'll leave the phone home for like a 10, 20-minute walk and just get lost. And you start to hear the birds. You start to notice things a little bit more. You look people in the eye because they're all wearing masks, so all you can look at is the eye. Yeah. But you just start seeing things a little bit more, and I could not agree more. I've had to make some very tough decisions in the past couple months as well with business and stuff like that as well. And just going for a long drive, shutting the phone off and just being with my thoughts has helped me work a lot of things through.
Yeah, I'll go for a 2-hour drive just to think.
Yeah.
And it works for me.
I love that. From a perspective of fitness, health, how do you keep your body in shape to perform, at the level that you do in business?
Well, I think I could be a lot better at it, but for me, I like walking. Used to play a lot of hockey. Stopped doing that after our son passed away pretty much, but I'll walk 10 or 20 kilometers in a day.
Wow.
And I'll line up my phone calls, the ones where I'm mostly listening. So I'll listen in on a lot of team calls, and I'll just try to line it up, and I'll head out for a walk, and could be 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers. And, but you have to do it. If I don't do it, you get all full of anxiety, and you don't think well, you're more irritable, you're more tired. It just doesn't work. And I think, if we think about what's the biggest threat to our business right now, and I talk to our team about it quite a bit, I think it's mental health. I think between now and next April, the biggest threat to most businesses is going to be mental health, because I think, we're in for a rough ride. It's going to get a lot rougher. And that's really hard on people. So we're adapting. We're doing things we've never had to do before. And if you think of families with young kids and apartments and, anyways, I think it's going to be really tough. So we're trying to be proactive on that basis, but we're also learning as well, right? So.
Yep, it's a crazy time. The last kind of final thing I wanted to talk to you about before we kind of head into our lightning round to end the podcast is what's next for you personally.
Yeah, we're looking at doing a listing, so we'll be for me personally, like, work is my life. So I have no hobbies. I don't play golf. I don't. Okay. Like my hobby, my fun in life is working. Okay. So that is my hobby. So it's like, what I'm answering that question with basically a work answer, but
that's fine.
Work is my life. So yeah, we're looking at we've got some really, really exciting things coming up for Rückify. We've got some nice traction. Bruce Linton. So, I mean, he started Canopy Growth.
Yep.
Amazing person. He's my partner in this. From day one, we've been thinking global domination. This is not a corner store. It's either going to be a rocket ship or it's going to be fireworks. Has been kind of our thing from day one. Every day goes by, we're more confident that it's going to be a rocket ship. So I think that's what we're most excited about.
That's awesome. What's it like being partnered with Bruce? I know he brings his own array of experience to this.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, for me, he's a mentor. He's done what, he took a company from 0 to 23 billion market cap in 5 years, 4,000. Like, who's done that? Right? and we're neighbors and we're really good friends. So I was with him through that whole ride and I saw that. And
wow.
What's really, he's very, very, very humble. I mean, he drives an old, like my car, I drive like an old Kia, 10 years old, 260 some thousand kilometers, like an ugly red Kia. My wife hates it. That's why I like it. He drives this old station wagon, Volkswagen. I don't even think it has electric windows. So he's humble.
Yeah.
We're both into giving back. Like, we don't need to be we want to win, but we don't want to win alone.
Right.
100% of the company belongs to our team. We want them doing well. Valuations on rounds are always reasonable. We want our investors to do well. So, we want to get to the finish line. We want to win, but we want other people there with us.
Yeah, it's not at all costs. It's, we're going to win. We're going to win together. We're going to cross that finish line.
We want to win against our competition, but, if you work your ass off and you're beside me, I want to hope that you're going to make some money that's going to change the course of your life and your kids' lives. So that can be a lot of fun. And
Absolutely.
Bruce has done that, before, and we plan on doing it again.
Well, Steve, even in this last hour chatting with you, man, I can see how humble you are, and it's shining through. It's incredible. This is not going to be the last time I have you on the show. I can't wait to watch Rückify and all the things you guys do grow. I like to end my podcast with 3 questions. Can
I ask one? Can I ask one after you're done your 3?
All right, let's do it. Okay. Question 1. What is one thing that very few people know about Steve Cody?
I'm really transparent. So
something that, would shock people to know about you. Something that, just no bio is gonna.
Maybe I'd rather stay home on a Friday and Saturday night. I'm not a very social person. So
there you go. Love it. What is some of the worst advice you hear people giving out there these days? Something that you just come across and it's like, don't be telling people that.
Yeah, man, and that's like a big pet peeve. I go to these mentor things and I hear these mentors talking, and it almost makes me insane because they're saying things to these entrepreneurs that are, I don't like. Well, you shouldn't do that, or you can't do that. Think about telling, a good example is Michael Dell. Michael Dell started selling computers online when nobody had a computer or nobody was online.
Right.
Somebody would say, why would you do that, you idiot? But an entrepreneur will figure it out. There's always a way.
Yeah.
So anytime I hear that, it's like, what gives you the right to say that? It makes me insane.
It's like trying to make this cookie cutter solution to entrepreneurship. This one thing is the one secret, or hustle. I mean,
and what makes it so arrogant to know that you know that? Like, it makes no sense.
And I think by the very definition of entrepreneurship goes against that completely. It's like you got to go against the grain and do the things that people think are too crazy, think are too wild. Like when you started Rückify, it was probably people telling you, hey man, I don't know, there's already Craigslist out there. Why would anyone want to rent something? Like, I don't know, you
talk to big investors and you'll sit down and, we want to put all this money in, and then you sit down with them and oh, but you got to do this and you got to do that. And they haven't asked any questions. They haven't been at this for 3 years and then built all, anyways, it's frustrating. So I love people that ask a lot of questions and then give an opinion, because to me, then it's worth something.
Last and final question, and I know we already kind of alluded to this before, but how do you want to be remembered? How does Steve Cody want to be remembered?
Probably as a person that builds people up, I think. So taking people and giving them an opportunity to probably do something they never thought they were capable of doing or never thought of doing. So, and I think a lot of people have a lot in them that they don't know. They just have to be given the chance, no different than myself.
Absolutely. Fantastic answer.
My question.
Okay.
When are you going to start to Rückify?
Oh, man, I'm starting tonight. Making my account as soon as this is over. I love it. I'm completely on board, man.
You could be retiring and you don't even know it.
No, I mean, I got a little bit of gear I could rent out around here. I got some of those books hanging around for when I went to business school that really did me nothing and taught me nothing about business. I can rent those out to people. Yeah, absolutely. Steve, this has been an amazing episode. I really appreciate you coming on the It's Not That Deep podcast. I hope you had a good time as well. Where can people find you on social media to connect?
Best place is LinkedIn. So Steve Cody, Cody, and yeah, that's pretty much the only place.
Awesome. And just spell out the website for Rückify for people so they could find it easily.
RUCKIFY.com. Rückify.com.
Perfect. If they didn't already see it on your shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. And just remember, it's not that deep.
Perfect. Thank you.